Right, there we go. We are live. Okay, so I'm just gonna wait until we get some viewers and check that the sound is okay, and we will get started. Only takes a minute. Just bear with me. Okay, great. So, good evening, everybody. Welcome to Be More Dog Live. I can see we've got some people watching. If you could be so kind and just let me know that you can hear me okay, that would be fantastic. Just drop a yes in the comments box for me, and then we will get started. That would be great. Thank you very much. And let us know where you're watching from. What part of the world are you in? That would be lovely. Just bear with me, everybody, before we get going. Yes, perfect. Right, thank you, Victoria. Right, let's get started. Hello, good evening, everyone. Today I've got Kirstey Lee, who is a pet bereavement counsellor, joining us. Kirstey, hello, thank you for joining me
Hello,
today.
thank you.
What part of the world are you at the moment? I know your accent, but I don't want to assume you're in Wales.
Yes, Cardiff.
Cardiff,
Cardiff,
okay.
yeah, South Wales.
Okay, hi to everyone in Cardiff. So we're going to be talking about pet loss, losing a pet, a dog, not necessarily dogs, but any pets. We're going to have a little bit of a chat about that. It's an emotional subject. It's going to be difficult for me hosting this one, so I'm going to try not to get too upset on screen. I would really love some viewer contributions on this one. I'd love to, get everybody involved. Feel free to ask any questions. And hopefully we can have quite a nice session tonight. So, Kirstey, do you want to just give us a little bit of a brief introduction about yourself and how you got into doing pet bereavement counselling?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Patricia, as well for having me. So I do appreciate it. But yes, I got into pet bereavement, pet loss counselling for two main reasons. I've experienced pet loss throughout my life, as without family dogs, my own dogs, but I've had two quite traumatic losses, and I found there was no real support there for me when I really truly needed it. The first one was 2002 on St. Valentine's Day, where my first dog went missing. He disappeared on a walk, did everything I absolutely could to find him. Obviously, the day is pre-Facebook, so we did everything. Everything we possibly could. The last sighting of him was when he was walking the wards of a local hospital, cheering all the patients up there. So that was kind of a nice thought that he was there, putting a smile to the patients' faces. But after that, we had some horrendous phone calls saying exactly what had happened to him, whether it did happen to him. Have no idea, but he was used for like dog fighting bait,
God.
his fur. He had beautiful golden fur. They also said that his fur was used for the fur trade, so it was absolutely horrendous. But I won't go into that too much because I don't want anyone to have too many tears or any tears. And then my second dog, then Bailey, he was at his end of life, and didn't really know I had any choices for like home euthanasia and things like that. So took him to the vets, and no explanation of what was going to happen, nothing. Just went into the vet room. Needle went in. He cries in pain. The vet said, "I'm sorry, we should have sedated him first." Left the room, and basically 2 breaths, and that was it. But it was the fact that he yelled out in pain that really got to me, when at that moment it should have been really, really peaceful for him. So the guilt, you can imagine the guilt and everything that I felt at that time was just horrendous. And it took me a while to get over get over it. So hence the reason for me doing some research, becoming a pet grief counsellor. And at the time there wasn't that many courses around because it was a very unknown thing really. But I found some courses, got my diploma, got my qualifications, and kept up to date with everything going forward. So here I am today.
Okay. Yeah, so that was in 2002, was it?
2002 was the first one with Rex, and he was a cross Staffy Labrador, and in 2016 then was Bailey, and he was a Staffy as well. So
yeah,
it was horrendous.
Wow,
horrendous.
That is tough.
I
suppose your story, you're now helping other people. So does that bring you any comfort? Does it?
It does
help at all?
It does. It brings me a lot of comfort, to be honest, because I can kind of because I think to be a counsellor, to be any kind of counsellor, especially a pet loss counsellor, you need to have gone through it yourself, because it is so different to human loss, you know, and unfortunately it's still not really accepted in society today. So people really struggle, and people don't really know how to say sorry to somebody who's struggling with pet grief as well, you know, and that includes your employers.
Yes. Okay.
It is difficult. It is difficult, but and it's the wording you use as well. You've got to be so careful with the wording that you use when you're trying to comfort somebody.
Yeah. Okay. So what words should we use? What words shouldn't we use?
Okay. Well, oftentimes you hear people saying about being strong. You know, be strong for your family. That's it. You know.
Yeah, I hate that.
I know. It's yeah. I suppose people say with good intentions.
Yeah.
Of course they do. But it's like you just said, you hate it because why do we have to be strong? Why can't we just cry our eyes out and go and lock ourselves away in a room, or go and punch a few walls or something? Why can't we do that? Because grief affects us in so many different ways. And oh well, your dog had a long life, or he's out of pain now. You know, that's the things you often hear.
Yeah, cliche things.
Yeah. So we should be mindful of that when we're kind of saying, even if we just say sorry, you know, sorry for your loss. That's better than saying, oh, you know, be strong for blah 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 blah, or well they had or the usual, get another dog.
Yeah.
You know, that will help you.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Being honest with Bailey, I did get another dog. I got another dog about 2, 3, 4 months after Bailey's passing. And I think because I had a gaping hole in my heart and I really had so much love to give, being honest, I think it was a little bit too soon in hindsight.
Okay.
Because all that kind of guilt of Bailey's passing, I kind of put it onto the other dog, the new dog.
Yeah.
So again, it is a tricky one. It's a really tricky one. And, you know, and if you are going to get another dog, you've got to make sure that your whole family is on board with it as well. Because if one person isn't, then it's not the right time. And it's again for your grieving animals, your grieving pets that are left behind, or I shouldn't really say left behind, but are still living. They grieve too, and they need that comfort.
Yeah.
They need that space to find their own way, to travel their own grief journey. So if all of a sudden another dog appears, they're just they're not gonna understand what's going on, what's happened.
Yeah. So okay. So how do we know when the remaining dog and you know is over the grief or ready or going to be okay with another dog coming in?
I think
behaviors.
It's behaviors, because some dogs, as with Rex, when Rex went missing, the other dog seemed to come into his own, come into himself. He kind of didn't appear to kind of be affected by it too much. He seemed to kind of develop his own personality and come out of his shell, which was quite, I don't know what the word is to use, but unusual or unique. But he actually grew in himself, and it was nice to see that. It was kind of a comfort to me as well to see that.
Yeah.
But I think some dogs would, their behavior will change. They might become, clingy. They might become overly or stay in their bed more. They might cry out. Their sleep pattern might alter. They might not sleep enough, or they might overly sleep. They might not want to go for a walk, and that's okay. If they don't want to go for a walk, don't take them for a walk. Whatever you do, don't force them to do anything that they don't want to do. They might go off their food for a while, which is okay. If it's a couple of days, that's fine.
Yeah.
It's the drinking. If they don't drink for 24 hours, then obviously it's a medical emergency because they need to stay hydrated. So the fluids into them. But it's comforting them. If they want comfort, if they come to you for comfort, then comfort them. That's the important thing. Don't push them away, just comfort them. And again, if you do want to bring another dog into the family home, what you can do is introduce your dog outside of the family home. If it's a rescue kennels, then you can go take your dog to the rescue kennels to meet that dog there and see that dog's see your dog's reaction first.
Yes.
By watching their reaction, they will tell you whether they're comfortable with this other dog before you actually go into the family home.
Yeah, that's very sensible. So, Kirsty, why does it hurt so much? Why is it different to losing a human?
I think it's because that I'm talking about dogs now. Dogs love unconditionally. We tend to, talk to them kind of. My dog's now put his head on my shoulder. Sorry. we tend to kind of open our hearts up to them. They're always there for us, in our times of need. They don't kind of answer us back in the usual way that humans might. So, they're just there. They're in our home dynamics. They're just always there, always there for us. When our dog passes or animal passes, the routine changes. The home dynamics change. Everything alters, and you can't really express. People expect you to carry on as normal.
Yeah.
And it's a huge struggle because you can't. A lot of people, if you say that you've lost, you've had to euthanize your dog, or your dog has died. A lot of people don't take it as like a human loss, whereby they allow you to grieve for however long it takes. When you lose an animal, it's just one of those things that you just carry on with life. You're expected to carry on, expected to go to work. You're just expected to do your usual every day-to-day tasks, where deep down inside you're truly struggling. You're absolutely struggling. You're melting.
And I mean, for my experience of it is guilt. And I was thinking about this today. It doesn't matter what we do for our dogs. We do everything we possibly can. We give them what they need. We love them. We treasure them. We take care of them. But certainly my experience, just the guilt afterwards, even things out of our control.
That's right.
What can you say, to help with this, Kirsty, so that because I find that's one of the hardest emotions is the guilt.
Yeah, I think it's trying to find meaning, trying to find the reason for why you're feeling guilty. You're like the what ifs and the why, what if I did this? What if I didn't do this? Should I have done this? If I did something different, why did it happen? It's going down, it's asking all those questions and trying to ascertain the answers. The outcome would have probably been the same. That the dog would have passed away. You had the dog euthanized. But I think that with guilt, if you look at the dictionary, it's usually with intent.
Right.
It's kind of how can I explain it? It's like on the negative.
Yeah.
Makes sense. It's kind of guilty means like you intended to kind of be cruel to your dog. You intended to cause harm to
Okay.
your dog. You intended
Yeah.
to do this. You intended to do that. That's more
Which
so the
obviously,
definition of guilt is, which obviously isn't the case.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah,
So it's getting to that kind of ultimate reason for why it happens, but you can only do that in your own time and space. And through a little bit of guidance, and you'll come to the conclusion then that it was in the dog's best interest, because the dog was either
yeah,
suffering in pain. But like we said earlier, you know, grief and loss isn't just about euthanasia, your dog, you know, dying of natural causes. It's about loss as well. It's
yeah,
about behavioural euthanasia, and
yeah,
that's a challenging one. That's a real
mhm,
challenging one.
yeah,
It's about compassion fatigue for like your professionals, or your professionals might be, you know, have been walking a dog, training a dog for a long time. They've built up
yeah,
that connection with that dog. Then all of a sudden, they're not with that. They're not treating that dog anymore. Professionals also
yeah.
feel that loss.
Yes, I know, I know. We've got some questions here. So Kevin says, do you recommend bringing the departed dog's body home for
Okay,
the other dog to sniff and say goodbye? It's a great question, isn't it?
it's a great question, and you know your dog best. Okay, the person knows their dog best. Some dogs, and it might upset you to see as well. Some dogs can
Yeah,
react quite badly to it. Okay,
right,
some dogs might growl, might
right.
act different, their behavior might change, but some dogs might sniff and then just walk away. Or some dogs
Yeah,
might just look and just, again, not react. They might not
yeah,
react at all. So reactions of how your dog, you know, manages that situation might upset you as a person as well. Now,
right.
dogs tend to know when other animals, humans, are ill. They know
Yeah,
when
yeah,
you know when the time has come. I don't know, you know, whether that is true. That's just us saying that they might know when the other dog's time has come, but they know when they're
yeah,
ill. They can sense when they're ill. Um, so, but if a dog goes missing and then the living dog is just left there on his own, that living dog is not going to really understand where his buddy's gone.
yeah.
Where God buddy's gone. So that's different. So really, the answer is it's up to you. It's your personal choice. With some
Okay,
dogs already are aware, they're
right.
already aware of that dog's ill, and they know something's up. They can sense it. They might not be able to comprehend it, fully
Mm,
understand, but they know that something was wrong. That the other dog
yeah,
wasn't, their buddy wasn't quite well. Same with humans,
yeah,
when a human, you know, when their guardian passes away, they
yeah.
know something was not quite right there, but they might not
Uh, wh-
understand.
when so our buddy euthanized at home,
Yeah,
and Misty was continually wanting to go, and he had to stay there for the night until the next day because it was a Sunday until I could take
yeah,
him to the
they could
crematorium.
take him.
Misty was constantly wanting to go in the room and check on
Yes,
him, which I
yes,
let her do as
yeah,
much as she wanted.
that's it.
And my experience is that she was actually fine.
Yeah,
You know, it's like it was like there was an acceptance there.
that's it.
But yeah, it's interesting what you're saying about the growling. I've not heard of that before. But I
Yes, some
guess,
dogs can react
you
quite
know, have
quickly.
to accept the dog to communicate how it's feeling.
That's right. Yeah, I think personally, if you can, and you know, you're able to do that as a person, then I think
Yeah,
yes, there's no reason why. There's no reason why you can't do that. I don't think of a
yeah,
reason why you can't do that. To be
yeah.
perfectly
I
honest, if you're able to,
yeah,
then yeah,
yeah, I agree.
if you're able to,
So Victoria says, I have three dogs, one who is 14 and on a lot of pain medication, but we're very aware of her fragility, and I'm wondering how much we can prepare ourselves for the loss so that the humans are able to cope a little bit better for the two dogs who will miss her so much. She says she's also a dog trainer and walker. So far, been very lucky not to go through the loss of a client, but it's inevitable. It's got to be prepared for the grief. So yeah, what can Victoria do for preparation, she's asking, Kirsty.
Okay, I think with regards to preparation, hi Victoria, I think the best thing that you can do is make decisions now of whether you want your dog euthanized or a natural death, whether you want your dog to be euthanized at home or in the vet surgery. And it's working out whether it's finding out if your vet surgery does home euthanasias, because not all of them do. And then it's working out, is finding out, then doing your research on the best, mobile vet, service that can come to your house to do the euthanasia. And then it's kind of ensuring that whether you're going to have cremation or burial. And with the cremation, is making sure if you want the ashes back that you ask for a single cremation, not a communal one, because it's a standard. If you don't, ask, or they don't offer you that, they tend to go as a communal cremation, but then you won't get the ashes back of your dog. So it's making it clear from the outset that that's what you want. And I think with regards to the other humans in your household, it's talking about it together. So you all make that decision. You all sit, you might cry, you most probably will cry, but you all make that decision together. That's really, really important. And it'd be good to do it now, so you're prepared in the long run then, because anticipatory grief is very real, and it's very difficult to, it is,
Mm-hmm.
and I think knowing when the time comes for your dog to be euthanized, I think it's a case of, my professional opinion is, if your dog has still got quality of life in the way he can still groom himself, he can still take himself to the toilet. Obviously, some disabled dogs can't do that, so you manage that anyway, yourself, if you have a disabled dog that you have to take to the toilet. But it's that, do they still get excited for, their friends? Do they still get excited when you come, to see you? Do they still enjoy, their favourite toy to a degree? To a degree. So as long as their pain's managed, as long as they're still enjoying some life, I think that's fine. But I think if they're not enjoying that life, they're not drinking, they're taking the water in, they're not eating their favorite foods, they're not eating any treats that you give them, even, very high level treats, even ice cream or even a burger, just a little bit of burger just to get them to eat if they're not eating. I think, that's a sign that, it's very near in the time. It's very near in the time to say goodbye to them.
Yeah. Something that helped me was I had like a bag ready of things. So I had I did a sort of a shamanic reading for Buddy, and some people might think this is rubbish, but I don't care. It helped me. So I had a bag with chocolate in there and flowers, and I'd made a list of what I needed to do, because I knew when the time came I wouldn't be able to think properly. I had candles. And I had like a little shrine set up. I had a photograph. So when the day came, all of that was prepared already. I'd already spoken to the crematorium.
That's it.
So that really helped me, because when it happens, your mind goes, doesn't it?
Your mind does go. No, you can't think straight at all. You can't. And I think it's speaking to the vet as well, and either paying in advance, you're paying up front, so you don't have to do it at that time, or maybe, if you it depends on the vet, whether you can pay, a couple of weeks later. But I think if you can pay in advance, that takes a lot of the pressure off you, so you can get on with grieving.
I think as well, for me, I knew the weight of my dog, so I'd got the sort of rough price of the cremation. I'd checked out the opening times. I'd pre-phoned them and asked about single cremation.
That's it.
Yeah.
Some cremation companies as well, they will allow you to actually go there, and they have some memorial service. You can have a little memorial service there with a small amount of people from your, say, immediate family and friends. So certain places will allow you to do that as well. So You know, I think
Yeah.
that's a lovely idea. That's a really lovely
Yeah.
idea. You know, some will
Yeah.
even read something that you've written. They'll read that out for you as well. So, yeah.
Victoria says, thank you. We're very much struggling when it is the right time. So that's very helpful. She's still quite sassy and willing to live. That's great. None of my previous pups made it to old age. This has definitely been a shock to us all watching her get old. You mentioned about anticipatory grief. I had this for, I'm not exaggerating, I had this for 4 or 5 years because when I quite early on, when I got Buddy, who was a rehome rescue dog, I was told his condition was quite bad, that he could be put down then.
Okay.
But I decided to take the other option, which was, you know, management and medication, etc. And that went on for a long time. And I grieved for 5 years, in and out of it, in and out of it, in and out of it. So that's a thing, right?
It is a thing, 100%.
Okay.
It's a huge thing. It's a huge thing.
Yeah.
Definitely, 100%. And it's normal. It's normal. You know, anticipatory grief is normal, but it helps you with the grieving process in the long run. Did you find it helped you, or didn't it help you?
I think sometimes I think it was putting too much of a doom and gloom, and I think my dog was picking up on it.
Yes.
And I had to have words with myself.
Yes.
But it's tricky because if you've got a dog that's got a known condition, and probably Victoria will understand what I'm saying, you have to watch them and monitor them, and are they well? Are they happy? It's like a constant sort of assessment every single day.
You can
So
there's you can get a simple, like a good day, bad day kind of diary. You can keep it as simple or as complicated as you want, and you can put it onto your fridge or your boiler, and you can mark that on a daily basis. You know, if your dog's having a good day, if your dog's having a not so good day, if your dog's having a poor day, and within that month, then as long as your dog's having more good days than bad days, you know he's doing okay or she's doing okay. Right. So that's a kind of a really simplistic thing that you can do, but you can make it more complicated if you want to, you know, because you can journal everything then, you know, the urine, the poo, consistency of his poo, you know, the food, you know, the his exercise and things like that. So
can we talk about children and the conversation and the wording, and if we have to have a conversation with our children about their dog being poorly?
Yes. So with children, again, it's not using euphemisms. So because they pick up on this and they will think quite deep. Children are brighter than what we give them credit for. But young children especially will ask a lot of questions. So you need to be patient with young children and answer the questions you can to the best of your ability without going into too much detail. So with regards to, like, I've written a book called I Know That You Will Miss Me, and it's about it's being told by a Jack Russell Terrier to his little girl who's his friends, and he explains the process of euthanasia. So basically, when we're talking to children, we shouldn't really use terms like put to sleep, because it's going to play on their minds and think, oh, if when mummy or daddy go to sleep, or when I go to sleep, I might not wake up.
Oh God.
So they might start thinking things like that. And again, you know, passing away, we shouldn't really use the word passing away or passed away, because we use it for other things in life. So that's going to confuse them. So wherever we can, it's really good to use words like dying and explain dying, and, you know, and death and explain death. But with regards to, you know, the euthanasia, we don't have to go into detail, every little minute detail. We can be as honest to a level, but we wouldn't have to go into how and where it happens and stuff like that. So that is a you know, a very kind of, I'm looking for the good words, for the right words to say. It is difficult. It is
Yeah.
really, really difficult, but be as honest as you can. You know your children, parents know their children best. So it's knowing how your children, how inquisitive your children are, because they will ask a lot of questions and they will analyze every single thing. But it's working together again as a family unit. If they do ask you questions, then you answer them to the best of your ability and be honest. You know, avoid the euphemisms. Speak to them clearly. Share your feelings with them. So if you're feeling sad, tell your child that you're feeling sad. If you're feeling angry, because anger is such an easy emotion to feel, because I know that for me, when I'm grieving, I get really angry. So the way I kind of release my anger and then release my anger in a healthy way was to go to my bedroom, and I had like a punch ball, and I just punched that punch bag until I was absolutely exhausted. And that massively helped get flush all this anger and stuff out of my system. I didn't take it out on anybody else then. I took it out on this punch bag. So if people are able to do that, that actually helps them. But going back to children, share your feelings. If you cry, don't be afraid to cry in front of your child as well. You know, share your tears with them. Don't kind of hide away from them, because if you grieve well as a child, that helps you to grieve well as an adult.
Right.
Older years. So that is so important, because I think a lot of parents actually hide things from their children when they're a young age to protect them. Again, all good intentions, but to protect them. You know, like if the dog passes away, if your dog gets euthanized or, you know, goes missing, gets lost, you can say that, you know, that the dog, you know, you don't know where Fido is. You know, be honest there, but we're doing everything we can to find him. If Fido then, you know, is euthanized, you know, some parents might say, oh, he's gone. You know, we had to take him back to the kennels. He's gone. You know, he's okay, blah, blah, blah. But just say he's been, you know, he's poorly. You know, he's out. He's not suffering anymore. He's not struggling anymore. We've done the kindest thing, you know, and ask if they want to look at photographs, if they want to kind of write a poem or write a story or remember him in some way. Write a song, maybe. You know, if you're a musical family, write a song or draw a picture. There's a lot of things that you can actually do to actually help your children. And I'm aware that I'm rabbiting now because I am nervous. I'm conscious I was doing this.
It's great advice what you're saying. I remember years ago, somebody said to me once that they lost their cat, and I thought the cat went missing, but he meant this is an adult. He meant my cat had died. So he said to me, I lost my cat, and I was like, oh my God, where's your cat gone? Even as an adult, I misinterpreted.
Lost.
It's important, to be clear, isn't it?
Yes. Sorry, can you hear my dogs barking?
Yeah, don't worry about it. Yeah, we can. It's fine. It's
Sorry.
Fine. They're welcome to join the show. So you obviously had an animal go missing. That I can't imagine anything worse than that.
Oh, it was.
I can't imagine anything worse than it. I mean, can you give some help, advice, if anyone's experienced that or had to go through that, God forbid?
It's tough. I think for me now, I can say what I do now is I'm overly cautious. I'm doing risk assessments all of the time. And I mean all of the time. I will not answer the door unless my dog is locked in one of the rooms. So the dogs are locked into one of the rooms before I answer the door. And I ensure that I've actually got a little bolt on the door.
Yeah.
So I'm overly cautious. If when I take them on walks, you know, the one dog, especially because he's a high flight risk, the Jack Russell, he's double leaded. He cannot go off the lead, even in a secure field. I know it sounds sad, but he is always on a long line. And I do drop that long line just because if there's a little hole or something, if he sees a squirrel anything.
Yeah.
He's gonna be gone.
Yeah.
So I am very, very over cautious. Roads,
Yeah.
everything. But I think it's prevention. It's
Yeah.
best where you possibly can. It's preventing that from happening in the first instance, because a lot of dogs, yes, you might say you've got 100% recall, but in reality, do they ever have 100% recall?
No,
In
they don't.
reality, they don't, because a car could backfire. I often see people walking their dogs off leads by roads, and it troubles me because a car could backfire, firework could go off, anything could startle that dog, something that we can't physically hear, but they could startle that dog, and that dog could just go. So it's being mindful and trying to avoid these things wherever we possibly can. So that really is the best advice I can give. But if it's happened, please don't feel guilty, because like we said, guilty means you intended to do something. So you intended for your dog to run off and go missing. Obviously you didn't. Obviously you didn't do that. But it's trying not to beat yourself up. It's doing everything you can to try and find that dog. We've got the power of Facebook now. I wish we had them, because we would have had my boy Rex back. We would have had him back. If this hospital was a mile away, we would have had him back. But Facebook, there's drones, there's various support groups that will help you. You're in the police. There's the police transport, the transport police. So it's not just the normal police, it's transport police. Posters. There's so much you can do. You can do today to try and help find your dog, just there's so much you can do. Neighbours, we've got a WhatsApp group in the street, and only a couple of weeks ago, actually, a guy put on our WhatsApp group with the neighbours that there's a dog running loose in the street. So myself, I went out there, got some leads, went out there, got a spare lead. Another neighbour went out there, got a spare lead. Cut the long story short, we managed to reunite that dog. So it's the power of WhatsApp, the power of social media is an amazing thing. Amazing.
I did see an app that's been created recently. It's just free. I don't know if you've heard about that. I've put it on my page. They just want loads and loads of people to sign up to it. And if you see a lost dog, or you lose a dog yourself, you notify the app, and then it kind of tells everybody in the area that's got that app, so everyone can keep an eye out. And it's free.
I'll have
I put a
really
link to it. On my page recently. I shared the thing, which
and that's worth having. That's definitely worth
having.
100%.
Keep that on your phone.
100%.
So you in your writings, you said grief is your friend. Can you explain that?
Grief is your friend, because if you can't grieve, you're not kind of going through the journey. You're holding in all these emotions inside, you're locking them inside. So one day it's just gonna all of a sudden build up and just poof, explode. Or either with Rex, I forgot so much about him, his personality, the antics that he used to get up to, because to me it was easier just to block it out, just to put it at the back of my mind. Whereas if I'd grieved properly, I would know not to have put that to the back of my mind, because now there's so much that I don't remember, and that in itself is heartbreaking.
Oh no,
it's so heartbreaking. So I've learned something, a massive lesson, if you want to be better, and I will advise people to not blank things out, because years down the line you will regret that. You have to remember, you have to go through, there's stages of grief, but they're not stages, they're not linear. We can go through all 6-7 stages all in one day. Okay? So, but they are kind of, as we put, like bargaining, denial, anger, or those stages that we always hear. Okay. You know, they are things that we all should go through
Yeah.
on our grief journey. If we don't go through all of these, we don't grieve well. Some people as well can't cry. I've had conversations with people that can't cry, and they're troubled that they can't cry. They've just had the dog euthanized and they can't cry, and they're wondering what's wrong with them because they feel like they're
Right.
being disrespectful to the dog that's just sadly been euthanized.
Right.
But they're not. It's because everybody grieves differently. Everyone grieves differently. They might cry in a week's time. They might cry in a
Yeah.
month's time. It might not be till a year's time, but it'll come. It'll come, because some people are head grievers and some people are heart grievers. So the head people, the head grievers, these people tend to grieve by doing things, or maybe even shutting things out, like I said, because I had to keep busy. And then I shut things out and I forgot a lot of things. So some people have to just carry on with their normal routine or overly do things, never shut down, never relax, you know, up into this. So they're the people that really, really need the help and support. Other people are heart grievers, whereby they're emotionally in tune with their grief. So they feel everything. They feel every emotion that they're going through, and they really release that in a healthy, positive way. And they're the ones that grieve well, who have a really good grief journey. And then you have the others, which is a blend of two. So most people are head and heart grievers. So a combination. Most of us have a combination of the two, whereby we like to keep busy, but when we sit down and resting, that's when we feel the emotions. We release our emotions that we're actually feeling.
Yeah. Because it sucks, doesn't it?
It does suck.
You can't.
So much.
Yeah, but it's got to come out. It's a process we've got to go through.
It is. Exactly.
It's important to just feel what you're feeling, isn't it?
It is. Feel what you're feeling. Don't ignore your feelings. Feel what you're feeling. But if you if you've all of a sudden an absolute intense emotion comes through in the wrong place, say if you're in a supermarket, and all of a sudden this intense emotion comes through, say for example, I use anger, okay?
Yeah.
You can visualize this. You don't have to kind of physically do it, but hold that anger in the palm of your hand. Stop in the aisle, stop what you're doing, or even just leave it trolley and go to the toilet. But hold this ball of anger in the palm of your hand. Has this ball of anger got a colour? Has it got a weight? You know, has it got a texture? Really think about those things. And is this ball of anger trying to tell you something? What is it trying to tell you? And really focus on that ball of anger. And by the time you've focused on and tried to answer those questions, you'll find that your anger, has dissipated, has passed. So there's certain things that you can do, and it's being in the moment as well. Being in the moment. You know, people have probably heard, you know, think of 3 things that you can see, smell, or hear. You know, so just for that moment, if you're feeling any kind of emotion like you're going to burst into tears, just think of those 3 things, you know, and you know, and it should, the moment should pass for you. But obviously, when you're at home or when you're in a safe place, you want to release these emotions. You don't want to keep them in or suppress them. You want to release them and get them out.
Yeah. Thank you for that. Kevin has said, to your point about having photos of your dog after they've been euthanized, the Photos app on iPhone allows you to have facial recognition with pets now. All right. So you can build up a photo of the dog with your child so they can have photos of themselves with the dog to help them grieve.
That's lovely, isn't it?
Facial recognition for dogs.
That's
Love
lovely.
it.
That is lovely, isn't it?
Yeah.
Lovely.
Yeah.
Oh, because I know you can. I think there's an app where you can kind of like hug your dog. I think even if your dog's not, they will get you to they'll input
Oh,
you on there, kind of hugging your dog or being with your dog in a
okay.
certain situation. So,
That's nice.
but yeah.
So Kirsty, look, do you want to tell us about your two books and then your third book that you're working on at the moment?
Oh yes. Okay. So I've wrote two books. They're both available on Amazon. If I hold this
Yeah.
one up, I don't know, probably back to front. Yeah, it's called Pet Bereavement Matters. Okay, and it's more like a pet loss Bible. So within it, you'll find practical ways of. There's 17 sections in here, 17 chapters in here. It explains what grief is, all about grief. It explains in more detail about the head and the heart grievers. It explains about the ball in the box, which I haven't mentioned. Lauren Herschel, she was grieving. I think it was the loss of her mother, and she went to a doctor's, and she explained how she was struggling to her doctor, and a doctor came out with this theory called the ball in the box, and it's where you've got a ball and it's in a box, and you've got a pain button within that box, and when you first initially feel lost, grief, that ball will be huge and it'll constantly be touching that pain button. So you constantly feel that pain and that hurt and that heartache. Within time, that ball shrinks, but every now and again, it will still hit that pain button. So you still intensely feel the pain, but it'll be less frequent. And again, as time goes on, you'll always have that ball of pain in a box, but it'll hit that pain button less and less and less. But when it does, you will still feel that. You will still feel that
Mm,
hurt. So that's grief. That's grief. That's how it affects us
mm,
all. So we never truly get over that pain, but it gets
okay.
less frequent as time
Yeah.
goes on. It gets less frequent. So that's in the book.
Okay.
There's practical ways of how you can help yourself. There's ways of how you can help children, the elderly people as well, because if you're elderly and your dog passes away, you do think of your own mortality, and then you think, well, I'm not going to be able to have another dog. And that, again, really plays on your
Mm,
mind. And
right.
how do you support an elderly person with their dog when their dog
Right.
is getting older themselves, or even when the elderly person passes and their dog is left behind?
Yeah.
It's ensuring that there's something in place for that dog. So that's in the
Okay.
book as well. Um,
Great.
how to recognise when the time has come, preparing for the time when the time has come. There's things about choosing a crematorium or a burial. So there's a full range of stuff in that book.
Okay.
It's like a Bible. So it's got
Right.
everything in there. And my other book is, a lot of people like to they don't necessarily need to come to a pet bereavement counsellor, okay? They like to work through the grief themselves in their own time. So I've got another book. I'll just hold it up, okay? It's called Pet Loss First Aid, and it's a
Yeah.
self-help journal, and it's a guide for healing and recovery. So for 28 days, okay, and you can start this at any time throughout your grief journey, but for 28 days, you are given an activity or a task to actually do. And by the time, there's a little chart actually. So we've got there's a chart with thermometers on. So at the end of every day, you've got your chart with thermometers on, and you've got an angry one, a sad one, a guilty one, and a hopeful one. And initially, everything will be up there. Okay, the hopeful one will be right down the bottom, because you'll see very little hope at the beginning.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, they're barking again.
Don't worry.
But
Fine.
by the time the 28th, you've worked through all the different challenges. By the time
Yeah.
you get to the 28th day, okay, what you will find is the angry, sad, and guilty, they'll be reduced down to the bottom, or even at least midway, and the hopeful one will be towards the top.
Okay.
That's what you feel as you work through this book.
Okay. That's great.
So that's quite a nice one, quite comprehensive as well. This is the new one that I've written, and it's taken me a little while to write this because it's for children. Now, it's for parents, it's with parental guidance, okay? So it's for parents to read, again, everything's going to be back to front, okay? It's for parents to read to their children, and it's to help them explain the process of euthanasia. So it's actually, I kind of writ it, it's being told by a Jack Russell Terrier, okay, called Frankie, and he explains the process to his friend, who's a little girl, and he's talking to her, telling her exactly, you know, what's happening. But it's for parents then to read it to their children, and they can elaborate on it, whatever culture or beliefs that they actually follow. So I've tried to keep it neutral. So it's for everybody to actually, you know, read whichever belief, spiritual, non-spiritual, whatever culture. And you can, you know, as a parent, you can elaborate on it. But I've kept it, and I've explained in the very beginning, I've explained the reason why we don't use euphemisms, as we mentioned previously. So all that is in there as well. But the only thing that's holding me up with this is the illustrations at the moment.
Okay. So that will be out sometime this year, will it?
This one will be out. It's all written. It's more or less edited. So it's more or less in the final draft, but it's just the illustrations. I need the Jack Russell to be the same Jack Russell, but just age.
Okay. What a lovely idea. I love that.
Thank you. It's got to be perfect. This one's got to be perfect because it's for children.
Yeah. No, that's great. I look forward to that when that comes out, Kirstey.
Thank you.
Kirstey, it's been really lovely talking to you. Thank you so much. If anybody wants to reach out to you for themselves to talk about things, how can they get in touch?
Oh, sorry. Yes. At the moment, my website, I'm in the process of redoing my website. So, but I can pop it in on your group once it's done. Hopefully it'll be the next month. But if you use my email address, which is Kirstey.Lee, and Kirstey is KIRSTEY .Lee at outlook.com.
Okay.
Or they can send me a WhatsApp on 07943 765 736. Yeah, 07943 765 736.
I'll put that up as well.
That's lovely. And if anybody does have any questions after this, you know, I'd be happy to answer them. That's no problem at all.
Thank you. Thanks, Kirstey. I managed to get through this without crying. Nearly did.
Yeah.
Nearly did.
Oh. It's easy to cry, isn't it? So easy to kind of, but why not? Why not?
Yeah,
you need to
I know. It's just presenting and crying at the same time. A little bit.
I know. I cry.
A little bit difficult.
During my counselling sessions, I sometimes cry with, you know, with the clients as well. So it's good to get those tears out. It's really good. Really helpful.
Thank you very much, Kirstey. I really enjoyed talking to you.
Thank you.
And yeah, you let me know when your third book is ready, and I will put all the information on my page. Thanks everyone for watching and joining tonight's show. Have a lovely evening. See you next time. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.